Namaste, this is Sapna. Welcome to beSPICED. Now, if you were raised by an Indian mom or in an Indian household, chances are you would have been introduced to this vegetable called bitter melon or Karela. Either you were introduced, you would have seen it lying around, or your mom would have tried to feed you bitter melon in some form. Bitter melon or Karela is a very popular vegetable in India. It is abundantly found in all markets in India, and we are so lucky here in Texas, Dallas. I am able to find bitter melon in all of the Indian grocery store. Also in Asian grocery stores, you can find some bitter melon. Now, growing up, this was not one of my top 5 vegetable, and I can say the same thing for many kids. It may not be, for most people, this vegetable may not be your top 5 or even your top 50. But Karela has amazing healing properties. It's filled with tons of nutrients, antioxidant. From a Western standpoint, has lots of vitamin A, a little bit of iron, tons of fiber. From an Ayurveda perspective, this is such a special vegetable. My teacher, Dr. Lad, has taught me that bitter is better for your liver. So all bitter vegetables, not just bitter melon, is very as good for liver health, especially bitter melon. Bitter melon also has hypoglycemic effect. So people who have insulin resistance or high blood sugars, especially in India, anyone that has diabetes, they love to add bitter melon in their everyday meals. Whether you have liked bitter melon or you're not a big fan of bitter melon, I want to introduce you to a very delicious, yes, you can make bitter melon delicious, a very delicious recipe that even my kids give me 2 thumbs up. And I'm going to transform these bitter melon into crispy, crunchy, and delicious bitter melon chips. And especially if you have kids or even teenagers that I have in my home, or anyone that wrinkles their nose when they hear the word bitter melon, try this recipe, and I can tell you that you may transform someone that does not like bitter melon into someone that loves bitter melon. So let's get started. To make bitter melon chips, when you are at the grocery store finding and picking your bitter melon, try to find ones that are slender, have petite or slender body, not the one that has like a fat belly, because the bitter melon has seeds inside, and you want to have the tender seeds inside, and not overripe or big seeds inside. So the first step is taking your bitter melon. I'm going to take just a few of these bitter melon and give it a nice wash, and then we'll proceed. After the bitter melon are washed, you would need a slicer, and to proceed with the bitter melon chips, all you need to do is just trim the ends off, and once the ends are off, you just slice them thinly with the slicer. If you have great knife skills, you can even do that with just a regular knife, but I like it with my slicer. So as I was saying, bitter melon, and what does Ayurveda have to say? So the Ayurvedic properties of bitter melon are the Rasa, or the taste of bitter melon, is bitter. It is also a little bit of astringent. And the Virya, or the potency of bitter melon, is cooling. So bitter melon is extremely cooling, so it pacifies Pitta or heat in the body. It's packed with anti-inflammatory properties, and it is grown abundantly in hot weather. Here, it's very easy to grow in your backyard, and here in Dallas, I have some growing in my backyard. Bitter melon is a gourd family, so it grows on the vine, so it can take over your fence or anywhere that it has room to grow. So that's a little bit about bitter melon, and let's just slice these. And this is so quick. My mom would make this as an afternoon snack, especially in summer break. Growing up, we did not buy chips in a packet. we made homemade chips, and whether they were potato chips or plantain chips, or my favorite is the bitter melon chips. So the bitter melon slices are cut, and I am gonna get the oil nice and hot. So just find a heavy pan, and we are gonna be deep frying the bitter melon chips. As I said, I'm completely okay with having homemade deep fried ingredients once in a while because there's room for all kinds of food. But you can also make these bitter melon chips in an air fryer if you want to try that. Or I've also baked it on a thin cookie sheet. So you can try whatever method that appeals to you. But I wanted to show you the traditional way of deep frying. While the oil is getting hot, let's coat the bitter melon with some spices and some flour. So let me show you that. So this is about 2 heaping full cups of bitter melon slices. I'm putting it in a bowl, and then to make it extra crunchy and crispy, I have 2 different flours from my pantry. I have 2 tablespoons of chickpea flour, and this is my most hardworking flour in my pantry. Also protein. So chickpea flour, and then 2 tablespoons of rice flour. And by adding rice flour, it makes the bitter melon chips extra crunchy and crisp. So those are the 2 flours, and then next we will add some spices. Time to make these bitter melon chips spiced. So the first spice I'm adding is bhuna jeera, a roasted cumin seed powder, some red chili powder, coriander seed powder, and it's about a teaspoon to half a teaspoon depending on your level of preference of spice, some dried mango powder, and turmeric. Always sneak in some turmeric whenever you can. Lastly, adding some salt to taste. And I'm not gonna add any water or any liquid in this. There's enough moisture in the bitter melon chips, in the bitter melon slices, and I'm just gonna simply massage this, and it should coat the bitter melon slices. If you feel like they're not sticking or it's not coating, you can sprinkle just a few drops, no more than a tablespoon of water, only if needed. And give this a nice mix. Very carefully, you're going to be sprinkling and dropping a few chips at a time, or slices of bitter melon at a time. The temperature of the oil is like a medium to medium high. And once I drop them, we'll keep stirring it until it's nice and crunchy. Time to enjoy these bitter melon chips. So you saw how easy that was, and you can keep these bitter melon chips in an airtight container, and if you're lucky, they will last for a couple of weeks. In my house, they disappear within minutes. But these are crunchy, delicious bitter melon chips. So the next time you want to introduce bitter melon to an adult or a kid who doesn't like bitter melon, try making bitter melon chips. You can enjoy it just by itself, but sometimes I like to just do another garnish of the dried mango powder for extra tanginess, a little bit of red chili, and this makes such a delicious snack. And hear the crunch. It is so, so delicious. So what are you waiting for? Grab some bitter melon, go home and make bitter melon chips. Until next time, be spiced. Namaste.